Welcome to St. Petersburg, Florida, where the Toronto Blue Jays will take on the Tampa Bay Rays in the final spring training game of the 2011 season. Inside Tropicana Field, the Blue Jays will try to wrap up a very good spring training. Hello, everybody. I'm Buck Martinez along with Pat Tabler. And Pat, all spring long, ball clubs make announcements about changes in their roster, about trades, about demotions to the minor leagues. Yesterday, the Blue Jays made an announcement that Jose Bautista was going back to right field. What prompted the club to make this decision so late into spring?
Well, I think it has to do with Edwin Encarnacion. The plan was that Encarnacion was going to DH and back up at first base, play a little first, but he came into camp in great shape. He lost a lot of weight. His lateral movement was so good. They said, you know what? I think our team is a lot better with Encarnacion over at third base, and that will allow Bautista then to play in right field. He can clear his mind. He can go in right field and just say, don't worry about bump plays. Don't worry about double steals. Don't worry about any of that. Cutoffs and relays at third base. Go to right field. Get out there and just swing the bat. Think about that. And what does that do with Juan Rivera? Juan Rivera, I think, is better suited at being a designated hitter, being a veteran. All he can do is just worry about hitting. He's bumped out of the picture. He becomes a full-time DH, and I think overall this makes this team a better defensive team.
I think the defense has improved dramatically, but I got to ask you this. How much did Brett Lawrie's play impact this decision?
I think it had a lot to do with Brett Lawrie making that decision tough on the Blue Jays. He's going to go down to AAA. He really opened up a lot of eyes in spring training of what he can do, the way he plays the game, the way he improves. In the 5 weeks of spring training, he improved so much. I think the Blue Jays said, this is our third baseman of the future. We're going to see him pretty soon, I think.
And the future might be just around the corner for Brett Lawrie. The Blue Jays are headed north after this. They are primed and ready to open up the season. That'll come on Friday night, April 1st, against the Minnesota Twins. They'll say goodbye to the Gulf Coast beaches after this game, jump on the charter, and look to take on Minnesota. Swinging a drive, high fly ball left field. This is deep. This is 50. Welcome back to St. Petersburg. We're at Tropicana Field, the final spring training game of the Grapefruit League season 2011. Both these ball clubs have had good springs, Pat. The Blue Jays have a 16-13 record. Tampa Bay 14-14 after getting off to a slow start. But the big news has been the fact that Jose Bautista will go back to right field where he played 113 games a year ago.
The ball club has had multiple meetings day in and day out over the last week to 10 days talking about how can we improve this ball club. And they came to the conclusion that Jose Bautista in right field, taking advantage of that great throwing arm in right field. You know, he was tied for second in the American League in outfield assist, playing just 113 games in the outfield. They felt like overall he better suited this club playing in right field. One other thing about Bautista going to the outfield, you don't have to worry about anything. Not that he would come into the infield and just think about hitting, but in the outfield you have less responsibilities. You don't have to worry about the bunt plays, and you don't have to worry about cutoffs and relays. Go out there, catch the ball, get it back in as quickly as possible, and think about hitting.
Originally, I thought his impact standing next to Junel Escobar at shortstop would be dramatic, but having watched Escobar all spring long, I'm very confident that he's in a different place than the 60 games we saw a year ago. This is his home. Now he understands what they need from him at shortstop, and I think Bautista in right field will not be a concern for Escobar.
I think you're absolutely right. This is our fourth game on the air in the spring, and we've had a chance to watch the two of them in between innings go about their business. I think Junel Escobar is ready to take the next step all by himself and be the leader of that infield.
Now let's take a look at the Blue Jays lineup, and you're going to see some gaudy batting averages led by Rajay Davis at the top of the order. Escobar, the shortstop's had a big spring. Adam Lynn looks like the Adam Lynn of 2009. And Jose Bautista's picked it up right where he left off a year ago. Good news for the Blue Jays. Look at Aaron Hill's spring training average. 524. He's been hampered by a quad injury all spring long, but he's really swinging it lately. The rest of the lineup is very balanced, Pat. I think this lineup could really do some damage this season.
I certainly think so. Those are softball numbers that we saw out there with all those big numbers. I think they're better balanced, and that is the lineup that Jeff Neiman takes to the mound for the seventh start of this spring. Neiman won 12 games last year for the Rays. A former first-round draft pick back in 2004 for the Rays, fourth overall. He's got very good stuff. Last year, he got off to a great start, had an injury problem, and then scuffled towards the end of the season. But he is ready to take the ball for the Rays this year and form a very good starting rotation for Tampa.
Take a look at the defense behind Big Jeff Neiman, and this is an area of concern for Joe Madden. Johnny Damon, the veteran, will be in left field, and not Carl Crawford with all of his great speed. B.J. Upton needs to take up some of the slack in the outfield. Zobrist will be in right. Up the middle, Elliott Johnson is there in this game. It'll be Reed Brignac for the start of the season. He'll be the regular shortstop. Sean Rodriguez did a good job last year. The Gold Glover over at third, Evan Longoria. But a big void at first base. No Carlos Pena. Dan Johnson will start out there. But anytime you can talk about your third baseman, Evan Longoria, you're in pretty good shape.
Not just with the bat, but with the glove also. He'll become the leader now of that infield as he takes over for Carlos Pena. The Rays have made 26 errors this spring. Got off to a horrible start, 1-7, really botching a lot of plays. Joe Madden said, hey, let's turn it around. Let's make it a little bit better in the field, tighten it up a little bit. They certainly have done that, and they've played a very good spring training games.
Well, Joe Madden knows they don't have the thunder in their lineup to overcome those big mistakes. They're going to have to play tight defense behind a very good starting staff. Well, Rajay Davis will step in. He has had a great spring, as we mentioned. Look at his OPS, over 1,000, and 4 home runs in the spring. His career high during the regular season is 5.
We were talking to him on the last time we played. We were on the air when they were playing the New York Yankees. And he said, I like the philosophy that Dwayne Murphy instills in all the hitters. Let's eliminate pitches, and let's just look for one pitch and swing hard. And you can see all the extra base hits off the bat of Rajay Davis.
Pops this one up. Always a challenge here at Tropicana Field with his roof. Kelly Shopek back by the screens there to make the catch. 1 out. Shopek trying to bounce back after a down year offensively. Came into camp in great shape, but this is a tough place to catch pop-ups.
It certainly is. This is what you look up into, a white background. The big top here at Tropicana Field. You look up, you got to find the ball first of all, and he does that with ease.
You can see Shopik never saw the ball off the bat, and then he looked up into this superstructure of the roof and got some help from his teammates. So the shortstop Escobar will stand in against Jeff Neiman.
The ball goes up on a foul ball, and watch the pitcher Jeff Neiman tell his catcher where it is. He becomes the traffic cop out there, instructing his catcher where the ball is, and he gets a little bit of help.
Breaking ball hammered to center field. B.J. Upton's got great speed. He makes the catch. 2 quick outs here in the first. This guy's really important for Tampa Bay this year. B.J. Upton really needs to deliver on his potential we've been hearing about for so long.
Their highest paid player now at $4.5 million. B.J. Upton has been around for a while, and you're right. We've been talking about him. I think he's going to be the key to this club offensively this season.
Well, the Blue Jays right fielder Jose Bautista's had a good spring. That's on the first pitch and misses. You see the OPS, and his is over 1,000 for the spring training. It's a stat we're going to really talk about a lot this year. It combines slugging percentage with on-base percentage. Another high fastball. How do you think that really gauges a player's productivity?
Truer production, the number there. What can you produce with the hits that you put out there?
Base hit into center field. A very defensive swing with 2 strikes, and Bautista gets on board. Well, this is one thing. We talk about home runs, but Jose Bautista's truly become a good hitter.
100 walks last year. He knows the strike zone, and he cuts down that swing with 2 strikes. He's fooled momentarily by that breaking ball, but he keeps his hands back, and that's the most important thing. Keep those hands back and give yourself a chance.
Adam Lynn, the first baseman, will bat for the first time. Off speed pitch misses downstairs. Lynn, like Aaron Hill, who bats behind him, trying to put away the memories of a disappointing 2010 offensively. He's had a good spring. I think the one thing we've seen consistently, and Pat, you've talked about the hot bats in this lineup, is the Jays have been very selective all spring long, and they have gotten pitches to hit, and they haven't missed many.
I think that's the byproduct of going up there and taking pitches away, not having to worry about breaking balls before you get into a 2-strike count. A lot of these hitters hunt fastball, and they're good fastball hitters. But they will make the adjustment as they get deeper into the at-bats. Look for a breaking ball in certain counts in certain spots. Hitting becomes a lot easier when you can take away certain pitches. Not think about them until you get deeper into the count.
Popped up into center. B.J. Upton drifting over into the gap, makes the catch. The Blue Jays go quietly in the first. Neiman allows a 2-out single, but nothing more. Joe Madden's dealing with some new names and faces in his ball club. Johnny Damon will be in the 2 spot behind B.J. Upton, who's going to lead off. Evan Longoria, Ben Zobrist, their familiar face, but no Carlos Pena, no Carl Crawford this year. Kelly Shopping will play behind John Jaso, the left-handed hitting catcher. Sean Rodriguez did a good job at second. Dan Johnson shows some power, but he needs to be a little more consistent. Elliot Johnson's going to be the backup infielder, and Reed Brignac the everyday shortstop.
Jojo Reyes to the mound, trying to finish off a very good spring. 5 games, an ERA of about 3.5. Last time we saw him, he pitched 6+ innings versus the New York Yankees. Gave up 3 hits and 2 earned runs. He was outstanding, fooling a lot of those Yankee hitters with a pretty good fastball.
Talking to Bruce Walton, the pitching coach, he said the key to Reyes' success, strikes down in the zone, something Walton preaches to all of his pitchers. Ball on the strike to B.J. Upton.
Simple philosophy, isn't it? Just
Very
get out
simple.
there, pound the lower part of the strike zone. And he has the ability to do that. His stuff is that good.
He works quickly and throws an awful lot of fastball. He said he was in love with the fastball. He sinks it, cuts it, challenges hitters on the inner half with that good fastball. I like the way he works very quickly, keeps the pressure on the hitter. Good pitch down, foul out of play. B.J. Upton, just 26 years old. Seems like he's been around forever with these Rays. Came up initially as a shortstop. He's found a home in center field for sure.
Tried him at second base for a season.
Good breaking ball. Catches Upton looking.
Let's take a look at the defense this afternoon. Blue Jays have committed 28 errors this spring. This is how they will line up. Probably the starting lineup that you will see on opening day minus Juan Rivera. Travis Snyder still having a problem with his hip. He aggravated it the other day. So Juan Rivera will get the start in left field. Escobar and Encarnacion, the new left side of the infield.
The veteran Johnny Damon looks at a first pitch strike. Encarnacion deserves this opportunity. He came in camp in great shape, did a good job with the bat, and then the defense came along right behind the bat.
I saw him at first base, and he looked like a different player. The way he moved around out there, his lateral movement was outstanding, and he just seemed a little bit more comfortable over there. But then we saw him over at third base, and he looks like a totally different player than last year.
Johnny Damon to left field. Juan Rivera back and makes the catch over his shoulder. 2 outs.
Nice play by Rivera in left field. Let's take a look at the scouting report for the Blue Jays starter tonight. Jojo Reyes. Reyes, lefty, is sneaky fast. His fastball will pop up on you. B.J. Upton saw that with the strikeout. He's had a solid spring. 332 earned run average, and he's going to go about 85 pitches tonight. Got into the 7th inning because he was cruising along in his last time out. Could not get a batter out in the 7th inning, so he finished with 6. We're going to try to get him into the 7th inning here this afternoon.
Evan Longoria, the great third baseman of the Tampa Bay Rays. Like Upton, an established star, but just 25 years old. Very young. Good rip at a fastball. When you think about the combination of offense and defense, Evan Longoria truly stands alone in my mind. A Gold Glover, Silver Slugger, guy that can do it on both sides of the baseball.
Might be their best base runner also. You factor that into it. He's a complete player.
3 balls and a strike to Longoria.
You know, they talk about complete players with the 5 tools and stuff like that. They don't talk about baseball smarts either. And this guy's got it. He is right at the top of the class, I think, when it comes to baseball 101.
2 outs in the first. Ball is drilled toward left center. Davis on the run, and he's not going to get this one. Evan Longoria hits a long home run to left center. Another example of a good hitter getting the count in his favor and not missing.
And a good hitter can handle all types of pitches, but when you're sitting on a 3-1 fastball, he is good down, especially down and in. That's exactly what we saw right there from Reyes. He challenges him with the fastball. We said he likes to throw that fastball, and Longoria didn't miss it. Watch the extension and the quickness through the zone as he turns around that fastball.
He's ready. He's ready for the season. And Reyes, like we have seen all spring long, comes right back and pounds the strike zone. So many of these players are anxious to start the season. Guys like Longoria swinging the bats well.
Don't want to leave too many hits in Florida.
Ben Zobrist, the switch hitter in right field this afternoon, looks at an inside fastball. Zobrist had a big year in 2009 when he hit 27 home runs and drove in 90 runs. He fell off to a .238 average with just 10 home runs a year ago. Trying to recapture that stroke he had that made him an all-star.
Lots of injuries last year for Zobrist. He had a back problem, he had some leg problems, arm problems. Just wasn't the same player that we saw 2 years ago.
Now JoJo Reyes comes back and gets Zobrist on a good breaking ball, strikes out a pair, but Tampa Bay has taken a 1-0 lead. The Blue Jays will say goodbye to the sunny beaches of Florida and make their way home. And Pat and I thought we would send you a little postcard of our impressions of spring training 2011. I think first and foremost, the John Farrell-Alex Anthopoulos relationship of manager-general manager is very similar to that of Bobby Cox and Pat Gillick back in 1982.
Young guys proving themselves, great baseball people. I think the Jays' young talent is something that really stuck out for me as I watched this team from the first day of spring training. The young talent that's just dripping all over the field, up and down the organization. That's one thing Alex Anthopoulos wanted to do, was get younger and more athletic.
And I think that style of offense that Farrell has incorporated is energizing. It picks up the spirits of everybody as they always anticipate to do something on the bases. Aaron Hill takes the first pitch strike from Jeff Neiman. Hill's had a good spring training, albeit with limited at bats, but he's done some damage. When we talked to Aaron Hill at length about how he feels at this point, he said he's ready to go. Timing of the bat looks pretty good considering he hasn't played a lot of games.
And you know what I like what he said about that is he's not thinking about a lot of things. He's just seeing the ball and just trying to get the good part of the wood on it. A lot of extra base hits, hitting over 500.
On the appeal, Hill goes down on strikes. Well, we talk about making an impression in spring training, and for me, this is the most talented group of young players I've seen in camp for a long time.
Take a look at the ages of these guys. 20 years old, Henderson Alvarez, Anthony Coase, 21, Brett Laurie, Darno. This isn't even talking about the players that are under 25 who are going to be on the major league roster. So they've got plenty of young talent that they are stocking that farm system up with.
And you know what that does too? I think what that does is it makes everybody really feel like a unit. Everybody's about the same age, and when they come up, they're going to come up together, and they're going to go through their debuts in a similar style and fashion. I think it's really good to set this kind of atmosphere.
When we were playing, there was always the Dodger way of doing things, the Oriole way of doing things. Players came up through that system learning to play a certain way of baseball, and they came up as a group. I don't think that's why those teams were so good for so many years, as they came up together. I see the same thing happening with the Blue Jays organization as they bring in all this young talent through the draft or through trades, or they sign them as free agent, whatever. They bring these young players in here. They're going to go down and they're going to start winning. And in Double-A last year, they got a taste of that, and now we're starting to see some of the fruits of that winning.
Rivera fouls off an 0-2 pitch. Juan Rivera, in his first spring training camp with the Blue Jays, has made a good impression. And Pat, he provides something the Blue Jays haven't had in the past, in the recent past at least, is a right-handed hitter that hits left-handed pitching.
It rakes left-handed pitching. And there are plenty of tough left-handers in the American League East.
Defensive swing on a breaking ball with 2 strikes, and he flies out to right.
And when you think about it, David Price for the Tampa Bay Rays, John Lester for the Boston Red Sox, CC Sabathia. Blue Jays have had their trouble the last few years hitting left-handed pitching.
Yeah, Blue Jays have not fared well against left-handed starters, even though they have so many right-handed hitters in their lineup. All right, here's one of the principals in the revamped lineup, Edwin Encarnacion. And he's been swinging a hot bat as well. And one thing about Edwin, when he gets his pitch, he can hit a long way.
Well, he's not going to get cheated. Looking good. His attitude when he steps into that batter's box is, I've got 3 shots at swinging at pitches, and he doesn't get cheated. Even with 2 strikes, he can really hurt you.
He had a tough season a year ago, came to camp with a wrist injury, wasn't 100% at the start of the season, and really never got into a good groove early on. Got a hanger right there and just missed it.
Big ballpark. A different look that the Blue Jays are used to. You're outside all spring long in those smaller ballparks here in Florida. Now you come into the Major League Stadium, and the background's just a little bit different.
That breaking ball down and away. It does get you into the spirit of the regular season, though. You come into a Major League clubhouse, and the Blue Jays took a bus here. They dressed here just like they would during the regular season. So at least at the start of this game, this has a little different feel than a normal spring training game. On the ground, Elliott Johnson takes the short hop and throws out Encarnacion. A good inning for Jeff Neiman. A 1-2-3 second. We've played an inning and a half, and Tampa Bay leads it 1-0. Ricky Romero will open up the season for the Blue Jays. He's their #1 pitcher, but this group of pitchers, very young, very talented, and very close. They really pull for one another.
I think that's really important, too, and the whole starters do a lot of things off the field. We got a shot of them going out to dinner the other night. I'm sure Ricky Romero picked up the tab there because he makes the most.
He's the one with the big contract, so he's got the big contract. He can afford a dinner once in a while. But this is not unusual when you have a group of younger players. We saw it with all of the catchers early in the spring. Jose Molina took all the catchers out to dinner early in the spring. And, you know, people look at the schedule and say, well, 20 of the first 31 games are on the road. I think that's a benefit for a younger ball club.
They can get to know each other. They can spend time away from the field to talk about the game, talk about their strengths and weaknesses. Brett Cecil can say to Ricky Romero, hey, we're both left-handed. You saw me throwing. What did you see? And they can bounce ideas off of each other. That's one thing in baseball that I think is so important. And you and I grew up in the game where we always hung out away from the ballpark and talked about the game, the little nuances of the game, how to make yourself better. And that's so good to see these young guys sticking together.
Yeah, and I think you have a chance to do that when you start out with so many road games and you spend so much time together. Kelly Shopik will share the catching duties with John Jaso. Shopik hits this one to center field. Davis has got plenty of room, just shy of the warning track in center, and hauls it in. Well, you're going to get a good look at Rajai Davis in center, and he can cover some ground. A little bit different style than the Blue Jay fans are used to. The Vernon Wells in center, but Davis has kind of an explosive gait about it.
Yeah, Vernon Wells so smooth. He had good jumps on the ball, and he made it look so easy. A lot like B.J. Upton, the way he plays center field here in Tampa. Rajai Davis, you're right, a little bit better.
Second baseman Sean Rodriguez takes his strike.
That's another aspect of the game now with the changes that they have made defensively. Rajai Davis is now going to be playing at least this afternoon with two guys that he hasn't played together or next to. They have to learn how to move together as a trio in the outfield. How much ground can he cover? What does it sound like when Jose Bautista calls me off in right field?
Yeah, that's a good point. They're going to have to really kind of accelerate the learning process in a very short period of time. Travis Snyder will be the left fielder once the season starts, and he's become a pretty good left fielder. Oh, there's that good fastball at the knees. That's a tough pitch.
Down in a way. Rodriguez really had no chance. Even if he swung at that pitch, he couldn't do anything with it.
Late moving fastball is out of the zone. Rodriguez draws the one-out walk. And now Jojo Reyes will have to turn his focus to first base a bit. Rodriguez was 13 of 16 a year ago in stolen bases. Dan Johnson, the powerful first baseman. Left-handed batter will wait until Jojo Reyes checks on Rodriguez. Johnson hit under 200 last year in limited duty, but he had 7 homers. Sean Rodriguez was fooled badly by Jojo Reyes' delivery.
Standing on the bag when the ball crossed home plate.
Yeah, he went right back to first base, and the ball was going to home. Reyes has fallen behind the left-handed hitter. One thing we've seen consistently from Jojo Reyes this spring is ability to throw strikes, and so far tonight he's had a little trouble.
Yeah, he hasn't been able to place his fastball like we saw him the last time out against the Yankees. Pound it in and out and down.
Jojo Reyes is 26 years old. We mentioned the entire starting rotation, 26 or younger. There goes Rodriguez, swing and a miss. Molina's throw is in the dirt and late. Tampa Bay is very good at picking their spots in steal attempts. They didn't waste many opportunities on the bases. Rarely are they thrown out.
Well, they are built for speed, and Rodriguez is one of those players who can get himself into scoring position. Gets a huge jump. Guesses right against Reyes. And really, even if that throws on the bag, he doesn't get him at second.
Rodriguez is at second in scoring position. Molina didn't have much of a chance at all with a great jump at first.
Thing about the Tampa Bay Rays, once they get to second base, you still have to pay attention to them. They're liable to steal third. We have seen B.J. Upton already this season steal home against the Blue Jays. Very aggressive, and they do so many different things on the base paths.
Strike three call. Johnson was headed for first. He didn't think that breaking ball caught the outside corner. Reyes makes a good pitch and gets the left-handed hitter.
Watch Molina, the catcher, frame it and bring it back. Johnson is punched out on that breaking ball. It wasn't low, about belt high. He thought it was outside.
2 outs now. And Elliott Johnson, who's at shortstop this afternoon, will bat against JoJo Reyes. Off-speed pitch catches the corner.
It's an interesting team, the Rays, the way they have been put together. They have so many players who can play multiple positions and give Joe Maddon opportunities to mix and match as the game goes along. Elliott Johnson has played 7 positions this spring.
Joe Maddon understands that given their situation financially, they're not going to have the impact starters at all positions, so he has to mix and match, and with that, he likes the versatility of an Elliott Johnson.
Can steal you a base, but not this time.
All right, JoJo Reyes comes back and strikes out a pair to end the inning. Starting to find the strike zone. Blue Jays. Our next game on Rogers Sportsnet will be Friday night. Coverage begins at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Pacific Time. The Jays will take on the Minnesota Twins in the season opener. And for the fans attending the game, you need to get there early because it's a very special night. Not only is it the first game of the season, but the 2011 Hall of Fame will be present. Pat Gillick, the former general manager and the architect of 3 World Series championships, will be honored. Bert Blyleven, the great pitcher of the Minnesota Twins, going into the Hall of Fame. And Roberto Alomar, the fine second baseman of the Blue Jays, now a Hall of Famer. Alomar received the 3rd highest vote total in the history of the Hall of Fame. A well-deserved honor and a special night at Rogers Center. Jose Molina, the catcher, played a total of 11 games this spring. both of these pitchers have had a little bit of trouble with the umpire's strike zone behind the plate. Chris Siegel, not a regular major league umpire, has squeezed both Reyes and Neiman from time to time.
It's throwing me off a little bit too. The late strike call.
Molina hitting out of that open stance. Fouls one straight back. Jose Molina's home run this spring came off A.J. Burnett, powerful right-hander of the New York Yankees. Boy, what an asset Molina is to this ball club. Not only for the benefit of the pitchers, but also as a mentor to J.P. Arencibia.
If you want to learn anything about catching at the major league level, J.P. Arencibia has got a couple of guys he can learn from. Jose Molina, just all ears. You have to be ears when that man is talking about catching. And the bench coach, Don Wakamatsu.
Molina gets jammed and lifts the lazy fly ball into left. Damon's there. Lots of things going on in spring training. Brian Butterfield, working with a new manager, had to go over some aspects of their communication.
A manager who is managing for the first time in his career. Those are some of the signs that Brian Butterfield will get from the bench. Bunt, steal, hit and run, whatever the manager wants to do. And they're going to be doing a lot of things offensively that we haven't seen for a few years. Double steals, hitting and run. They're going to try and do a lot of more things. So the coaches have to get on the same page also.
Yeah, and it's all about learning and about timing, and the players have to understand to anticipate things. As Arencibia waves at an off-speed pitch, 0-2.
Did you have any idea what John was just telling him right there with all those things?
No. And that's a good thing. But John Farrell, a former pitching coach, will have to give signs for the first time. And it's all about communication. What you'd like to do as a manager is give the sign very quickly to the third base coach before any other coach or manager across the diamond can zero in on you. So oftentimes, as soon as a base runner reaches base, you're already giving signs to the third base coach, so you don't draw attention to that line of communication.
So as a manager, you have to anticipate before the play actually happens. If this runner gets on base, what am I going to do?
Cut on and missed there, and Arencibia goes after a high fastball. Second strikeout for Neiman.
Has that ability to throw fastballs at the top of the strike zone, does Neiman, and he gets Arencibia a little tardy on that fastball. Neiman last time out gave up 9 hits and 3 runs over 6 innings. They stretched him out to 106 pitches last time out, and by his admission, it was a little messy out there. Didn't have the great command, 106 pitches through 6 innings. This afternoon, they're thinking about 4 innings to just a tune-up before his first start of the season.
More than anything, you want your starting pitcher to get up and down a few times during his final outing to make sure you can kind of recreate what he's going to deal with in his first start. He's actually missed a start. Made 4 official starts in the spring. That's number 5 for Jeff Neiman. Ball on the strike to Davis. Just off the outside corner. Both Neiman and JoJo Reyes have made pitches and then had a hesitation as they thought they'd thrown a strike. No swing down at first on the appeal. That's Chad Fairchild, first base umpire. A 2-out walk issued to a good base runner in Rajai Davis. First walk of the game allowed by Jeff Neiman. So this will be interesting now with Escobar batting number 2 behind the guy that had 50 steals. He's going to have to show a little patience at times this season.
And he can do that. He's a very good number 2 hitter. During the season, I think this is a ripe situation for Davis to get himself into scoring position. But now the last spring training game.
There he goes. Got a great jump, and Escobar jumps on the pitch. Elliott Johnson behind. Short makes the play, and Dan Johnson can't handle it. Lots of things going on there. Davis started. Got a great jump at first. Escobar swung at the ball, put it in play, and Elliott Johnson made a good play, but Dan Johnson couldn't help him out.
You're right. As a hitter with 2 outs, if you get a pitch you can hit, you can score him from first base. There's no sense taking a pitch there to let him steal. If you can hit a double on that pitch, go ahead and swing away at it. It's probably going to be an infield single and an error on the shortstop. Ground ball up the middle. Johnson gets to the ball, but you're right. That's a play that's got to be made by the first baseman. Ball is out in front of you. You got to get down low. Make that play.
Bautista pulls it into the seats down the left side. Escobar's credited with an infield hit and on the throwing error. Davis goes to third. That's Jonathan Diaz, who's come on defensively as Escobar's spring training has come to an abrupt end. And he finished with a base hit. The plan was for the regulars to get 2 at-bats and then sit back and enjoy the rest of the game. Breaking ball down and away. Escobar, with that infield hit, finished the spring with 26 base hits. That leads the ball club. Base hit. Left field in front of Damon, and Davis comes in with the run to tie the game at 1-1. Jose Bautista wraps up his spring with 2 hits and an RBI.
More importantly, I think his approach at the plate. He got a single his last time up on an off-speed pitch with 2 strikes. This time it looked like he tried to throw a changeup. Bautista stayed back and rips it into left field. A harmless 2-out base on ball to Rajai Davis sets the tone for Bautista to get an RBI.
Well, that's the personality of this particular ball club. They can score now in many different ways, and a 2-out walk seemed to be something rather mundane, but they turn it into the game-tying run. Big breaking ball as Neiman jumps ahead of Adam Lynn.
Didn't waste any time either when he got on to first base to Davis. He takes off on the first pitch, and Escobar swings at it, keeps the inning alive, giving the big RBI guys a chance to pick up a run.
Good cut on a high fastball. Lynn looks like a different hitter this spring than we saw all year last year. A little bit more upright at the plate, a little free and easy at the plate, but I think the biggest thing is he's staying on the ball and driving it to left center.
For me, watching him a lot as Adam Lowen has come in to pinch run for Bautista, looked like he got a little pull happy last year, trying to yank everything. Adam Lynn's strength is left center to right center field. He's got the ability to drive the ball out of the ballpark to left field easily. Start trying to cheat and pull the ball. That's when you start getting yourself out.
There goes Diaz to third, pull base hit down the right field line. Diaz will come in to score. Here comes Adam Lowen getting the go-ahead. He's going to score all the way from first. The throw to home, not in time. Putting the runners in motion with 2 outs leads to 2 runs for the Jays.
And you're talking about Rajai Davis because they would have had the out at second base if he doesn't go. Lynn stays back on another breaking ball from Neiman and rips it into the corner. The runners were taking off, trying to open up some holes on that infield, but it doesn't matter. Rips it down into the corner, and by the time the right fielder Zobrist runs it down, Lowen's going to circle the bases for the second run. Third of the inning. And the Blue Jays, just like that, go ahead 3-1.
Aaron Hill looks at a breaking ball outside. Adam Lynn has left the ball game. David Cooper has taken over as a pinch runner, and Hill will try to deliver another 2-out hit here. Bounced off home plate. Neiman has time, and Hill's retired. But the Blue Jays put up a 3-spot, and they do it all with 2 outs. A 2-out walk got it started. Bautista finished up spring on a high note. If you can't make opening night Friday night, Sunday will be a great day. Jose Bautista bobblehead day. Sunday when the Blue Jays take on the Twins. The first 10,000 fans will receive a Jose Bautista bobblehead. For tickets, call 416-341-1234. Or you can log on to BlueJays.com or stop by most Rogers Plus locations for tickets. Big weekend of baseball. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the Minnesota Twins opening weekend at Rogers Center. Jojo Reyes to Reed Brignac. Reyes is settled down nicely. 2 strikeouts to end the second. 3-1 Blue Jays, and we are pleased to be joined by Aaron Hill, the second baseman. Aaron, thanks for your time, and I guess you feel pretty good about the way your spring training finished up.
It was nice just to get back on the field with the guys. You know, honestly, it was started off a little rough having the quad thing, but last week it made a lot of improvements, and feel good going into the season.
While you were down with that quad thing, as you say, what kind of things were you able to do when you came to the ballpark?
Well, I did everything, actually. Sorry, spit my gum out.
I saw that. So did
the red light
else.
got me. I was able to do all the baseball activities, which was nice, so I didn't miss a lot. But, you know, doing the things in the cage and still taking the ground ball. So I didn't miss anything. It was just the speed of the game, for the most part, was the only thing I was missing. And, you know, it was good just the last couple of weeks, actually, minor league games for a week or so, and getting back in there in the last week.
You were able to take ground balls?
Yes.
Ground balls you hit in the cage.
Everything.
How did you keep your wind up? Were you able to do some bicycle work or anything like that?
They had a lot of little drills for me. Interesting drills, just mostly the strengthening and, you know, a lot of walking on the treadmill up and down hills and weights on the ankles and just a bunch of fun stuff rehab-wise.
How do you feel?
Great. Positive, ready to go. Looking forward to this team, and a lot of good things in the clubhouse, and we're hearing a lot of good things from the fans in Toronto, and just looking forward to getting up there.
Aaron, talk a little bit about the change in offensive philosophy. You've been around this ball club your whole career. You understand that home runs have always been emphasized here. How has this John Farrell philosophy energized the team?
Well, I think he's not taking anything away. I mean, we still have the aggressiveness, and teams know that. The main thing is stressing the aggressiveness on the base path. We added some key players. You know, one being Davis at the top of the order. They can really push the envelope and put the pressure on the defense. And just from a defensive standpoint, I mean, it really puts pressure out there. It changes the game, having speed, and for us to have that on our team now is, you know, it's important. It's going to be fun.
How much confidence do you have in your young starting rotation?
It's going to be fun. They get another year under their belt. They all had great years last year. And so it's fun just to see how it'll be interesting to see how they improve and learn from last year, and hopefully take it up another notch, because we all know they have it in them.
Sticking with the defensive part of it, Aaron, new first baseman you're going to be working next to this year. Tell the fans what it means by when a new guy comes and plays next to you, how you guys work together as a team.
Well, I was fortunate to have Lyle the last few years, and best of luck to him. He was one of the best defensive guys out there, great guy, and bringing Lindy in, he had a lot of work last year, and what he's done in the spring so far, he's made a lot of improvements. There's some question marks going into spring training, but he came in ready to go, came in shape, working hard, doing all the right things. And so it's going to be fun, being with him, and I'm going to be on my toes with him all year, and it's going to be great to see him develop as a big league first baseman.
How long does it take to understand his range, where you can position yourselves to where he is?
It's just getting a feel for him. Obviously we know the hitters, and that comes with the advanced meetings that we have before each series. And as far as who the hitter is and whatnot, who the pitcher is, playing, I'll be verbal with them. We'll be talking with them throughout the game, and it's not going to take that long. I think we're pretty comfortable with each other, and he's going to have a great year.
Look across the diamond over to third base. Edwin Encarnacion will play third base. What about what it means for him to get back on the field at third base?
Tell you what, Eddie came in great shape this year. He had something to prove. He really did. He came in with the attitude saying, almost taking this job for him. He's really came in swinging a bat. He came in great shape, and he's ready to go. And he's already shown some signs, obviously, of improvement over in third base, and he's working really hard. He's out there at the half field every day and working with Butterfield, and just showing some real positive things. So everyone's excited about the move, because I think we do all. I think that Batista definitely is great at both third and right, but definitely is a game changer in right field. And nice to have him back on the outfield.
Aaron, you've had a chance now to have a whole spring training with your double play partner. Tell us how far you two have come together, spending the last 5 or 6 weeks together.
It's fun because Esky has got all the talent in the world. He really does. He's got all the talent in the world to be an all-star shortstop and beyond. So just getting to know him, the last year, and taking ground balls day-to-day basis, working with him, feeling him out a little bit, and the communication is big. He's getting a lot better. We're both getting a lot better, communicating with each other out there in the infield, and it's going to be a fun year for us. I think it will. It'll be a fun to have it throughout the whole year and stay solid up the middle.
Evan Longoria takes the first pitch strike quickly. Aaron, tell me about how much you perceive Escobar to be much more at ease, much more at home this season compared to last year.
Well, I think it was a tough situation. It's always tough when you come in a new ball club and you're trying to prove yourself and trying to be accepted. And the main thing, I think he felt that way when he came here. He knows we have a very relaxed clubhouse and a bunch of great guys on the team, but we all in this thing to win, and that's the bottom line. And he came in the spring, he's very vocal, very ready to go, and he's very comfortable with the teammates, and it's a good feeling to see, especially as a double play partner. But as one of your teammates, it's good to see the guy comfortable and confident, and only good things are going to happen out of that.
A lot of good things going around this ball club. Aaron Hill, thanks for your time, and we'll look forward to kicking it off on Friday night.
Look forward to seeing you guys.
All right, thanks, Aaron. That's Aaron Hill, and a lot of good thoughts there, and certainly we're going to see an awful lot of the Escobar-Hill double play combination.
I think that's so important that they've had 5 or 6 weeks together to talk about, well, how do you like the ball fed to you on double plays and certain runners and things like that. Those are the kind of things that take some time to work together with. And I'm glad he was able to speak about that and tell the people what it's like.
Well, and two, you have now Brian Butterfield, who has seen both these guys play, and they can really work at it during the course of spring training. Boy, there's another close pitch, and the appeal down at first is denied. I think Reyes thought he had made a good pitch and expected the pitch to be called a strike. But Longoria gets a 2-out walk. It's first and third now for the right fielder, Ben Zobrist.
You have to regather yourself now on the mound after you thought you made a big pitch to get yourself out of this inning. He now has to get it back together to face the number 4 hitter in Zobrist.
Jojo Reyes, formerly of the Atlanta Braves, came to Toronto in the Junel Escobar trade. Escobar and Reyes coming to the Blue Jays for Alex Gonzalez.
Ben Zobis struck out to end the first inning. There goes Longoria, pitches outside, throw to second, not in time, and McDonald can't get a throw off to the plate. Upton comes in to score on the front end of the double steal. The theme of baseball is changing dramatically in the American League East.
Led by the Tampa Bay Rays. This is how they play the game, and they've been doing it for the last few seasons. They haven't hit the ball yet this inning, and they have not got the ball out of the infield, but yet they have a run and another one in scoring position for your number 4 hitter. All because of that speed.
They hit 247 as a team a year ago, yet they were third in runs per 9 innings in the American League behind the Red Sox and the Yankees. And that's how they score runs. Longoria was terrific a year ago, stealing 15 of 20. Once again, when you get base runners on, you don't want to lose them. Down back.
Longoria very aggressive into second base, and he knows that that throw is coming up. You can feel as a player, you have a sense of where the throw is as you slide into second base, and I think Longoria felt that that ball was tailing from Molina, and he was going to get domed by it and ducks underneath it.
Now tip off the glove of Jose Molina. Now Molina had that great defensive game here in this ballpark a year ago with Brandon Morrow on the mound when he threw out 4 Tampa Bay Rays in the same game.
Carl Crawford couldn't believe it. Remember that game? They got him in the first inning, and I think it was the third inning. He got back on, and first pitch tried to take off, and Molina gunned him down, and the look on Carl Crawford's face.
Inside, just off the plate. Molina threw out Crawford twice, threw out B.J. Upton and Sean Rodriguez for good measure. It kept Brandon Morrow in the game as he was having trouble early in the season with his command. On the ground, Diaz is short. In time to Cooper, and Reyes gets out of it. But the Rays score a run. JoJo Reyes bounces back and strands the base runner. Blue Jays still lead it 3-2. After this ball game, you will be able to watch MLB 2011, the preview. It'll be tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific Time on all 4 channels. And it was hosted by Jamie Campbell, myself, Alan Ashby, Greg Zahn on the panel talking about the upcoming season, what to expect from the Blue Jays, what to expect from baseball in general. We have a little prediction. Great piece on Jose Bautista, his leadership skills and how he impacts not only the Latin players on the team, but the entire ball club. And there's a great piece about Pete Walker and his young daughter Marissa, who was diagnosed with cancer a few years ago, and her battle against cancer and how she has rebounded, and now she's cancer free. So great show, 1 hour long, right after this ball game. Pete Walker, former pitcher with the Blue Jays, now in the minor leagues as a pitching instructor, pitching coach, will be with this team for a while. Juan Rivera swings at a high breaking ball and flies out to Johnny Damon in left. Rivera looked like he changed his mind halfway through that swing, tried to check his swing, but it was too late. Edwin Encarnacion, the third baseman. And that's right, we said third base. Yesterday, John Farrell made the announcement that Jose Bautista would be the everyday right fielder and Encarnacion would play third. Lifted up the right side, now to play it. I don't know about you, but it really caught me off guard. It really kind of came out of nowhere.
Certainly. I heard about it last night, and whoa. I mean, we went about 6 weeks, 5 weeks of spring training. And I know the reporters, the beat writers, kept asking John, Bautista, is he your third baseman? Yes. These are the reasons why. This is what we're thinking. But the Blue Jay brass, they were together, and they've had meetings for the last couple of weeks. How can we improve our team? What can we do? And I think it's because Edwin Encarnacion did such a good job, came in spring training in great shape. He just looks like a different player. The way he moves around, the way he swings the bat. Getting him in the lineup defensively, keeping Bautista, putting him back in the outfield, I think on the whole the team has made itself better defensively. Encarnacion
hit 21 home runs last year. John Farrell, the manager, wanted to take advantage of that. They've tried to figure out how he can get into the lineup. And for more on the decision to move Bautista to right, stay tuned. After the break, we'll come back with the skipper, John Farrell, and get his thoughts on his ball club as they wrap up spring training.
I think Juan Rivera, the veteran who's been around and he has DH'd in the past, might be better suited to DH than a Edwin Encarnacion, who's never done that. He's always been an everyday player going out onto the field at third base. It's hard for young players. Adam Lynn had to learn how to do it as a young player, but he's going to be playing every day now. It's harder for young players who've never done it before to be productive as just a DH.
It's such a difficult thing. When you think about a DH in general, you think about a seasoned player who's maybe not as effective defensively, but Encarnacion certainly has been an everyday player his whole career.
Vladimir Guerrero.
Yeah.
Guys who are a little bit older, who've been around. They don't run like they used to.
David Ortiz. Paul Molitor at the end, where he was a DH for the Blue Jays.
But you certainly don't think of a guy in his 20s who has put the glove on becoming a full-time DH.
Tap foul. Well, and that's why it's so important for the Blue Jays to find out whether or not Adam Lynn can play first base every day. They've got a long-term commitment to him contractually. And if he can indeed play first base, that certainly opens up a little more flexibility for the Blue Jays to add a more traditional DH along the lines of Manny Ramirez or David Ortiz or Jim Thome. Somewhere down the road. 0-2 to Molina. He stays alive. If Edwin Encarnacion had enough at-bats to qualify last year, he would have been 8th in the major leagues in at-bats per home run.
Something that you can't teach. I mean,
he's got pop.
Natural strength.
8th in the major leagues in at-bats per home run. He had 21 home runs and limited at-bats. Molina's fighting hard against Neiman in the whole 0-2. Well, you remember the great display Encarnacion put on in Arizona.
Yes.
And then at the end of the season, Minnesota. He was the player of the week in the American League in the final week of the season because of his series against the Twins. Two outs here in the fourth. Jan, little spinning ground ball to short. Elliott Johnson makes quick work of it, and Neiman has a 1-2-3 fourth inning. We have played 3.5 here in Tropicana Field. We'll talk to John Farrell when we come back. "49 hours, 44 minutes and counting till opening day Friday night at Rogers Center. Minnesota Twins will take on the Toronto Blue Jays to get the 2011 season started for the Blue Jays, and we're pleased to be joined by the Blue Jays manager John Farrell. And John, give us your take on the way spring training has gone for you in your first season as the manager here.
You know, Buck, I think we got a lot of quality work done. We tried to change the mindset, particularly how we run the bases. I think we've had a lot of buy-in from the players. We had a number of other questions that we had to answer, from filling out our rotation to straightening out the back end of the bullpen to getting Adam Lind accustomed to first base and how much work or workload could JP Arancibia handle behind the plate. And barring some health issues that cropped up towards the end of spring training on the pitching side of it, I think we've answered a number of those.
Let's start with what you like the best, the pitching side of it, John. Tell us what goes into putting a staff together when you come to spring training.
Well, first and foremost, Tabby, is that we've identified those guys we were going to take a look at in the rotation, who was in competition for those final 4 spots. And really, when you get down to it, it's a matter of who was commanding the strike zone consistently. We did, as I mentioned, have to contend with a couple of injuries that took some guys out of the mix. But I think for the most part, we had internal candidates that won out, and we begin the season with 5 quality guys, and knowing that Brandon Morrow is not too far behind, as is Frankie Francisco and Octavio Dotel. So we begin the season Friday, but we're not too far in the distant future where we could have some other changes take place.
John, talk a little bit about Jojo Reyes. What is it that you like about what you've seen from Jojo Reyes this spring?
You know, Buck, I think the thing that we noticed right from the get-go was definition to all his pitches. He was throwing his fastball down in the strike zone. He showed good arm strength. And as the games unfolded, he commanded the zone. He was attacking. He was fairly efficient. And then I think when we got into it, we wanted to see him against 2 really good ball clubs. And I know it's spring training, but the best setting we could put him in was at Philadelphia and then the night game over in New York. He responded to both of those very well, and he's throwing the ball good again here tonight.
Is that a philosophy that you're trying to do with all of your pitchers? Don't worry about just pound the strike zone with good stuff and don't think about it.
Well, the one thing that Bruce does such a great job of is the constant message, and his theme, as he has dubbed it, is pound down productions, and it's something that it's somewhat of a mantra among all the pitchers, regardless of their role. And I think for the large extent of spring training, we've done just that. And you just try to simplify their plan as much as possible. You don't want to overload them with too much information in spring training. But the old adage applies. If you can work quick, throw strikes, change speeds, you're giving yourself a chance.
When you put a starting five together as you get ready for the season, is there a plan? Well, I want to split up the lefties. I want a power guy in between the lefties, something like that. Different styles. Does that come into the equation?
It does, Tabby, and we did just that. You know, just the way things are aligned, we'll go left, right, left, all the way through. Even though we've got, we're going to back up the lefties with Cecil and JoJo in this case, but. You know, the one thing is that, you know, there's contrast to style in there. Kyle Drabeck obviously separates, you know, two left-handers, Ricky with a little bit more power than Cecil. But when Brandon Morrow comes back in the mix, we got another power right-hander that will look to keep the left-hander split apart. Particularly, we went into this with a main concern with the left-handers is that both Ricky and Cecil throw off their changeup so much. We wanted to be sure we kept the power right-hander in between those two for one.
John, you made the move with Bautista going back out to right field. How much did Brett Lawrie's play in the spring factor into this overall decision, or did it at all?
It didn't really, Buck. This centers around really two main things, and obviously the two players are at those current positions. Edwin did a great job, and he's to be commended for the reshaping of the body that he went through. It's allowed his footwork and range to improve over what he did a year ago, and the fact that he's shown us that. We get one of the best throwing arms in the game in right field in Jose, and we felt that in our internal discussions, his play in right field would factor into the decision-making of those third base coaches more than any other factor in this whole decision. So we also look at Travis Snyder in left, Jose Bautista in right as two of our cornerstones going forward, and the sooner we got them to those anchor positions, that was another factor we looked at.
Something a manager doesn't want to think about the last few days of spring training: injuries. Bring us up to speed on how's Travis Snyder, how's Aaron Hill, how are some of the relievers?
You know, Travis yesterday, he slid into second base and he jarred his left hip, and you know, more precautionary than anything, he felt some left hip and low back tightness starting to take over, and we did take him out. We gave him the night off here because of the turf, and knowing we're going to go back into turf in Toronto, we just felt like 48 hours down to get ahead of it was the best thing to do at that point in time. But on the same token, you know, we're looking at Corey Patterson. Fortunately, you know, he took a 95-mile-an-hour fastball to the head down in Boston the other night. He's coming along fine. Aaron Hill, you know, Aaron Hill is probably the key to a hold of the middle of the lineup. And I tell you, he's running the bases well. He feels no restrictions. So we're in pretty good shape going into the start of the season.
It's all good news, John. Thanks for your time, and we'll see you Friday night.
Okay, guys, we're looking forward to it.
All right. That's John Farrell as JoJo Reyes has a good inning here in Tampa Bay. Opening weekend starting Friday night, it'll be Ricky Romero opening up for the Jays against Carl Pavano. This is the same matchup we saw at the end of the season in Minnesota when Romero went 8 strong innings and beat Pavano with the Twins. On Saturday afternoon will be the left-hander Francisco Liriano against Kyle Drabeck, getting the start in the number 2 spot. And then Sunday in the series finale, Nick Blackburn will take on Brett Cecil, winner of 15 games a year ago. Should be a great opening weekend of baseball.
I think both of those starting staffs for the Twins and for the Blue Jays are very similar. They don't walk a lot of people. They don't blow you away with like natural 98-mile-an-hour fastballs, but they throw strikes. They make you put the ball in play. They make you beat them. So it should be a lot of fun to watch those two match up against each other. Kyle Farnsworth now takes over as Jeff Neiman's afternoon is finished after 4 innings. Farnsworth in line to be the closer for the Tampa Bay Rays this season. He has been around a bunch of different teams. He has suffered a hyperextended knee fielding a bunt on Monday, the 21st, and now just getting back into action.
One thing with Farnsworth, you know you're going to get a good fastball as Aaron Sebia takes his strike. Farnsworth started out in the Cubs system. Signed in 1995 with Chicago. And then he has bounced all over the place. This is an uncertain area for Joe Madden, that bullpen. Boy, you talk about turnover in the bullpen. 6 prominent relievers that were with the ball club a year ago when they won the American League East have left. Aaron Sebia lines it, but right after second baseman Sean Rodriguez. Farnsworth looking to take over for Rafael Soriano, who left and signed with the New York Yankees. Joaquin Benoit signed with the Detroit Tigers as their setup guy. Then you've got Dan Wheeler. Randy Choate went to the Marlins. Wheeler's in Boston.
Grant Balfour,
Oakland A's.
in Oakland. Redoing that whole bullpen. But they've got some arms to work with. Some guys who are now recycling through, who I think they're a little bit more mature. Kyle Farnsworth is one of those guys. When he first came up, it's like, how does anybody get a hit off of this guy? He throws so hard with a good breaking ball. But I think he understands the opportunity that he has here in Tampa. Juan Cruz has been lights out for Tampa this spring. He has not named a closer. He's kept everybody in the dark. He said he's going to do that at some point today. How it's all going to come together. But they've got some live arms.
And that's what you need in this division. Joe Madden's well aware of what it takes to win in this division. He's won twice in the last 3 seasons, and you need power at the back end of your bullpen. You need guys that can come in with a couple of guys on and strike hitters out.
They won the division last year. And since the end of the 2010 season, 8 players have joined the organization. They've had that turnover. Usually when you win, you want to keep guys together, but this organization has got to continually move people in and out.
Breaking ball outside. It's 2-2. Dwayne Murphy, the hitting coach, has enjoyed a very good spring this season. A lot of guys making some minor adjustments, and when we come back for the bottom of this inning, we'll talk with Dwayne Murphy about some of his hitters. McCoy hits it on the ground to the shortstop, and he's retired today. But Dwayne Murphy certainly got a lot of attention last year because of the great season Jose Bautista had, and Bautista constantly talked about Murphy's suggestion of getting ready, clearing your mind, having a game plan, much like what you referred to with Rajai Davis.
Toughest part of a batting instructor is you need to know all 13 tendencies of your everyday players. You know, what you say to Jose Bautista might not be the same thing you say to Edwin Encarnacion. You got to figure out what you're going to say to him to get that light to turn on for each one of those hitters. And that comes from spending time with them, talking to each one of them, learning each one of their swings, and it's constantly changing.
Jonathan Diaz batting for the first time. He took over as a pinch runner for Junel Escobar in the 3rd. Diaz has opened some eyes this spring. Bounced foul. 26-year-old makes his home in Dunedin, Florida, home of the Blue Jays for spring training. Split time last year between AA New Hampshire and AAA Las Vegas. Ended up hitting .266 in the final 28 games in AAA.
Every year there's players that come to camp that you don't think about. That you start to see them play for a while and they open up your eyes and they go, hey, I never knew this guy could play a little bit.
Well, we knew that Diaz could catch it. He plays short, plays second base very effectively, but he's gotten some key hits this spring. Pops that one off the end of the bat into shallow center field. B.J. Upton can't make the play, and Diaz takes advantage of the ball getting away from Upton and heads into second. That should be a double for Diaz, as off the crack of the bat, he left the batter's box with some uncertainty about whether or not that was going to drop.
I don't think Johnny Damon got a good read on this ball. It's off the end of the bat, the big swing by Diaz, and Damon doesn't really have a chance. It's going to be Upton with the dive, and he can't come up with it. Fastball down and away, takes the big swing, but that's off the end of the bat. Hustling all the way out of the box, he's going to turn it into a double. You get your chance, you just got to do something so the manager remembers you.
Now Adam Lowen will bat with 2 outs. Lowen takes a strike from Farnsworth. Adam Lowen had a big night the other day against Boston. Hit a home run and a double off Josh Beckett. He's played in 15 games this spring, but most of it has been late inning replacements. In that game against Boston, he got a start, made the most of it.
Take my hat off to him, what he has done with his baseball career. Started as a pitcher and now trying to get to the big leagues as an everyday outfielder.
Big swing and a miss at the Farnsworth fastball. Lowen had a big season in Double-A a year ago. Had 17 home runs, also had 17 steals. Pretty impressive combination of power and speed. Breaking ball in the dirt, smothered by Shopping. Lowen was drafted by the Baltimore Orioles in the first round, and even then they weren't sure whether they should draft him as a hitter or a pitcher. But he made it to the big leagues with the Orioles as a pitcher, but then suffered a stress fracture in his elbow and just couldn't stand up to the rigors of starting his career as a pitcher. Cut on and missed. Farnsworth strikes out Lowen to end the 5th. But the Blue Jays have a lead, 3 runs on 5 hits. And when it comes to hits, we're going to talk to the hitting coach, Dwayne Murphy, when we come back to St. Petersburg. Back here at St. Petersburg, Blue Jays are wrapping up spring training. This is the starting lineup for this afternoon's ball game. You can see gaudy numbers offensively up and down the order, highlighted by Aaron Hill's 524. But it has been a good spring for the hitters, and with that, we bring in the hitting coach, Dwayne Murphy. And Murph, I guess you got to be pleased with the way things have finished up here in the spring.
Oh yeah, I think all the players have gotten to the point where they're just where they want to be in spring training, especially coming out of spring training headed in this season. Everybody's worked hard all spring, and I think everybody's mentally ready for the season start.
Let's talk a little bit about the top of the order. Rajai Davis has had a fine spring, 4 home runs this spring, and he says you've simplified things to him in his approach. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, you know, Rajai's coming from an organization that really pounded him about going to right field with everything, and you know, most teams, most organizations are going to bust him in. I mean, they've always thrown him in, and we worked on just being able to get the head out a little bit, looking for a pitch that he wanted to hit, get his swing a little simpler, use his hands, and it's been working real well for him.
How difficult is it when you are working with a new player you've never worked with before to get them to buy into what you're teaching them?
Well, you know, we met up in January. That's the first time I met up with Raj, and it started way back then. And it is difficult because you're not really sure if he's, number one, understanding, number two, want to make a change on anything, and number three, believe in what you're saying. And you just kind of feel him out and see where it goes, and I think we hit it off real well the first day.
That's popped out of play as Elliot Johnson faces Wilfredo Ledesma, who's taken over for Jojo Reyes. Dwayne, Jose Bautista hits 54 home runs a year ago, and you and I had this conversation around the batting cage. I thought it was very interesting in your answer. I asked you, what does Bautista need to change to overcome the changes he might be dealing with? And tell me what you said to me at that point.
I said he doesn't really have to change anything. The pitcher has to make his change. But Bautista needs to stay in his same approach, his same game, and let the pitcher make that different decision of whatever he wants to do or how he's going to pitch him. But if Jose stays right where he wants to be, and then he'll see what the pitchers are trying to do to him. But he shouldn't try to change anything until he sees what's going on.
Have you seen hitters in the past do that in your travels all through baseball? Have you seen great hitters have great years and all of a sudden they start changing, thinking the pitchers are going to counter that?
Yeah, and they struggle because they're coming out of their game. They're coming out of their strengths, and he needs to stay right where he's at, stay in his strength, and you know, the pitcher's still going to give him those same pitches to hit, and he should be ready to hit them.
Murph, nobody really knows how many home runs he's going to hit, but for me, I wouldn't be surprised if he has another great year because of his approach. Talk from a hitting coach's perspective about what the upside is for Jose Bautista. I still think there's growth in his approach at the plate.
Oh, I definitely agree with you. And I don't even think it's about a home run number. I just think it's about his production and what he does. He's been driving in runs, becoming that guy we need at the plate to drive in the runs. And this game's all about scoring runs. And that's what Jose does. He drives in the runs. The home runs come off his good swings. They don't come off him trying to force the ball or force the ball out of the ballpark. They just come off his simple swings. And that should be his approach, just going up there and just trying to hit the ball the same way he always does.
Well, he's certainly a focal point of any opposition when they're facing him. But talk a little bit about the two guys who had down years last year. In your mind, what was the problem with Adam Lind and Aaron Hill?
I mean, as everybody talks about how bad a year they had, but they put up some decent numbers. When guys struggle, I mean, they usually struggle in all their numbers, and these guys still put up decent numbers to be respectable. Of course, they didn't hit their 280, 290, 300 that they want them to hit, but they put up some run production. But they worked hard all winter. They worked hard all spring, and I think both of them are ready to go. They've had exceptional springs, seeing the ball well. They're right where they need to be, coming out of spring trading, heading into the season.
Dwayne, you had a chance to work with Cito Gaston, who himself was a hitter and a hitting coach like you. Now you work with a pitcher as a manager. How has that relationship changed what you do, or has it?
As of right now, it has not changed. John told me I have the hitters, and that's kind of like, I like how I like it, but it's the same. I have the hitters. I spend my time with the hitters, and they're really, as far as that, I couldn't answer that question just yet because we really haven't got into the battle yet, but everything's going good.
I tried to explain last half inning, Murph, what your job is during spring training, how much you have to do. Take us through a regular day in spring training. What's on your plate?
Well, we're in the cage early in the morning, like 7:15. We have guys heading to the cage, and we're there. Myself and Chad Mottola was there. We were there until they start stretching at 9:15, and Then we start a batting practice, and then there's a rotation where some guys are going right back to the cage and they're hitting on the field. And then when they stop for lunch, and at 12:15, we're back to the cage before the game starts. And the guys are getting their swings locked in. And then a lot of times right after the game, you're right back in the cage again. So
how do you keep it all straight?
You're just getting your routines. Most of these guys got routines. It's easy when you have routines. And just the young guys, you try to teach them routines. Even during the season, you got 13 guys, and it's pretty simple because you know what time they like to be there, and you know the routines they want to be, and it's easier that way is when they don't have routines or how they want to do, or you try to make a little change with maybe a younger guy, and you spend a lot more time in there on them.
Speaking of younger guys, who's caught your eye this spring? You've had Thames and Glory and Ghost and Travis D'Orneau. You've had a handful of guys come up. Who has caught your eye as a hitter?
Well, I'll tell you what, Cooper's had an exceptional spring. I mean, he's hit the ball hard almost every game. Thames has had a good spring. Diaz has had a good spring. We've had some guys that had some good springs. Lowell's had a good spring. And that's what you want. You just want to see guys get up there and compete and have good at-bats.
Young guys like that, first of all, let's see if they can get Upton at second base, and they do. Young hitters like that, you're the major league hitting coach. Do you try to change their swing in spring training, or do you talk about it and let the minor league people do that?
I talked to Chad. I let Chad Matola do a lot of the stuff as far as with the minor leaguers, and we do it together because I know they want to hear what I got to say. And I really hate making a change and then a guy's only with me a few days and then he's back down in the minor leagues and you really can't monitor it. So it depends on the change. Most of them are small and subtle changes, and so that part's okay. But when you make a dramatic change, you just don't want to sit there and mess with a guy and he's going up and down.
Well, Dwayne, some of the changes you've made the last couple of years have proven to be the right ones, and I know it's going to be another interesting year for this ball club offensively. We wish you good luck and thank you for your time.
All right, Button Pat, I enjoyed it.
All right, man. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
That's Dwayne Murphy, the hitting coach of the Toronto Blue Jays, and certainly, boy, talk about a promising future. The names he rattled off, David Cooper, former #1 pick, who's really starting to get it together. Well, Fredo Ledesma catches Johnny Damon looking at strike 3. Bunt. B.J. Upton on the bases. The Blue Jays are in a tie after 5. This picture earlier, it's the starters out to dinner, all 6 starters at dinner, and we are pleased to be joined now by one of those starters. And Ricky, we got to believe you picked up the check for that dinner, right?
Absolutely, I did.
Well, good guess, huh?
Good for you, and you got some of your running mates with you right there. And talk about the spirit of this team, Ricky. We talked about you guys all 26 or younger, but you guys really stay close, stay tight, and help one another out, don't you?
Yeah, that's the key. Talking to them during dinner, I told them, I wanted to keep the staff close and as a family. And this is what we got, and this is what we're going to work with. And we're definitely really excited about it.
Why is that so important that you guys form that camaraderie?
Well, I mean, we spend a lot of time together, and I think it's very important to know that we have each other's backs. Even whether things are going good or things are going bad, we made it known that we have something special going on, and we just gotta keep working, and everything else will take care for itself.
Ricky, your team won 85 games a year ago, and most of the experts around baseball are suggesting it's going to be a down year. You'll probably take a step back. What's the mindset of your ball club about that number?
We definitely are going in and approaching the whole year with the chip on our shoulder, and we're out to prove people wrong. But it all comes with just taking it one game at a time, and like I said, having each other's backs and learning from each other. I think that's the key, and I think we've done that in spring. We've kind of set that in stone and made it known that we're going to help each other out.
David Cooper continues a red-hot spring training with a base hit of Adam Russell.
Are there things that you can learn sitting on the bench and talking to a Brett Cecil? You guys are about the same type of pitchers, or JoJo Reyes. Or is there something you pick up from Brandon Morrow or Jesse Litch and you talk about that? Is that what you mean when you guys stay together?
First off, don't compare me to Brett Cecil, please.
No. Well, you're both left-handed.
You're both left-handed.
No, I'm just kidding. But no, there's definitely stuff that we learn from each other. And, talking to Brett last time about, his delivery and him thinking too much about his velocity right now. And kind of made it known. The next day we played catch, and I told him, throw as hard as you can at me, and it's there. And he did it, and this game's all about confidence. He definitely has it, and this whole staff has it, and we can definitely learn from each other and take a little bit of each other's game and kind of put it into our game.
Okay, Ricky, we're going to have you turn the table a little bit. We want you to ask Jesse Litch how much better his stuff is this year than what we saw last year.
They want me to ask you how much different is your stuff this last year than it is this year? A lot better, and he's hoping he stays hydrated throughout the whole season, so we'll make sure
That's right. That's something us old guys do. We get dehydrated, not you young guys. What's up with that?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what happened there, but we'll make sure he stays hydrated all year.
I see Kyle Drabeck sitting there kind of behind everybody. You've had a front row seat to watch him this year. What's he going to bring to the starting staff?
He's a competitor, and his stuff is electric. There's no secret to that. We all know what he can do, and he's proved it in the minors. So now it's his time to shine under the lights and show us what he's got. And we're really excited about him. And he's the guy that we're going to take under our wing and teach him what it's like to be a big leaguer and go out there and compete every time.
What's up with number 4, Ricky?
Yeah, we've gotten on him over that. He says it's a high school number. I think he needs to get over that whole high school thing already and move on. I told him he's a big leaguer now.
We got to come up with a better number than 4, huh?
4 is not very good, Kyle. Sorry. And I'll have a question for you guys. Who do you think is the best-looking guy out of the rotation? Come on.
Wow. Now that's really tough.
Of course, Brett Cecil's going to say him.
Nobody's a day at the beach, Ricky. There's a fly ball off the bat of John McDonald, and Donnie Damon hauls it in. But this whole thing, now, you guys got something to prove. You mentioned it. And how about the opportunity to open up the season at home against Minnesota, who won their division a year ago? I mean, you guys are getting tested right out of the chute. How important is that to get off to a good start? Well,
it's very important. And we know that every team that we face is going to be, they know who we are. They know what we did last year. And, that target's on our back, and we're happy to know that it's on our back, and we embrace it. And like I said, we're out to win ball games, and we're going to do it whatever way we can, with the help of the young staff and the rotation, and obviously the bullpen, and then the rest of the offense.
Speak about your pitching family. What about your family? Are they coming to Toronto for the opening weekend?
Oh yeah, my mom made a late game time decision, and so she's coming with my 2 sisters. So it should be pretty fun.
That's awesome. Eric Thames lifts a high fly ball into center field. B.J. Upton makes the catch there, 2 outs. What a way to share your first opening day start with your family, who have been so supportive of you throughout. I got to ask you this. Tell me about your commercial. Talk about how proud you are of your Nike commercial that you filmed out in L.A.
Oh, it's awesome. Like I said, I've always said this, just for the fact that they wanted to shoot it in my hometown where I grew up playing, it was very special. And, you know, to have my little sister in it, to have my dad in it, it was definitely a special moment, and it's definitely one of those things that you'll never forget.
Ricky, we certainly want to wish you the best this season. Pass along the best for all your partners right there, and we thank you for your time, and we'll see you Friday night.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. Thanks for all of the help there that you had. You had a lot of help there supporting with all those guys. That's Ricky Romero, the opening day starter. He'll take on Carl Pavano of the Minnesota Twins on Friday night, and there's a great example of how close this team is, Pat.
They never leave their sides. You see them around the ballpark, they're always together. On the bench, they're always together. And that camaraderie and that closeness is going to help them win a lot of ball games, I think, and improve them as ball players.
Well, even with Romero and Cecil, when Cecil was a little bit discouraged about his velocity, Ricky took Cecil out onto the field and said, throw it as hard as you can. They played catch, and sure enough, Cecil's velocity bounced back the next start. That's how you lead. Brett Lawrie in his first at bat of the night, battling against Adam Russell. Lawrie will open up the season as the AAA third baseman at Las Vegas. He's never played above AA in his professional career, so that'll be a good test for him. Fights this one off.
21 years old. Pretty mature guy for 21 years old.
Well, and I tell you, you know, when we heard about the trade, there was a lot of suggestion that he didn't have the greatest of attitudes, and Milwaukee had problems with him. I have not seen any of that since he's put a Blue Jays uniform on. He's been terrific. A hard worker and a very good player. There he hits a soft liner and lines out to second. So Lawrie is retired to end the sixth. The pitching staff is in good shape. Ricky Romero is looking after them all. JoJo Reyes wrapped up his spring training with 4 strong innings against Tampa Bay. The only hit he allowed was a home run to Evan Longoria that came in the first. But for the spring, he worked a total of 23 innings, allowing just 10 hits.
They wanted to get to 85 pitches. He almost got there with the 78. 6 punch-outs in his 4 innings. That'll get that pitch count up there. But very effective as he gets ready for the season. He will now turn it over to John Roush, who will start the season as the closer for the Blue Jays with the injury to Frank Francisco. 21 saves last year for Roush, a career high. Pretty much did the same thing last year when he went to Minnesota. Joe Nathan got hurt in spring training, and they gave Roush the job of closing and did an outstanding job for him before they picked up Matt Capps.
Well, I think that's one thing that Roush brings to this team, the experience of playing on a division winner in Minnesota. That's what you want to build that winning attitude around here. And he jumps. Longoria jumps on the first pitch and lifts it into right field. Adam Lowen is there. One quick out for John Roush. Roush started out in the White Sox system. He was a third-round pick in 1999. He spent time with the Nationals. He was the leader in appearances for the Nationals in 2007, worked in 88 games. Then he went to Arizona, part of the 08 season, and into the 09 season before he was traded to Minnesota.
Well, what I like about him is he attacks the strike zone. This big guy comes right after you, makes you swing the bat. Last year for the Minnesota Twins in 57 2/3 innings, just 14 base on balls. It's always a pleasure when you see a guy coming out of that bullpen throwing strikes.
I think it's very important for relievers to throw strikes and really minimize the number of pitches they show hitters. And Roush is a strike-throwing machine. Doesn't overpower you. Doesn't throw as hard as you might think, given the fact that he's 6'11". But he knows how to pitch. He'll sink the ball. He'll cut the ball. Change speeds with his breaking ball.
Yeah, watch him move the ball around the strike zone against Ben Zobrist here. Thinks along with the hitter. If he feels like he is leaning out over the plate, he'll cut that fastball inside. Get a few bats with that cutter.
James sink that ball down and away, just missed. Zobrist batting left-handed for the first time. Faced Jojo Reyes, was 0 for 2 as a right-handed hitter. Off-speed pitch gets him. 2 quick outs for John Roush. Fans gear up for the 2011 season with At Bat for your BlackBerry, iPad, or iPhone. Listen to live radio broadcasts and receive batter-by-batter information for every game. At Bat 2011 allows you to customize the app to receive Blue Jays specific news and alerts. Visit BlueJays.com for more details. 2 outs here in the 6th. We are tied at 3. Another strike from big John Roush. Kelly Shopik 0 for 2 so far. When you face a big reliever, 6'10", even like the starter Jeff Neiman for Tampa Bay, what kind of problems does that create for you as a hitter?
Well, because they're so tall, a lot like Jeff Neiman, who we saw at the beginning of the game for Tampa Bay, they create such a great angle where they can get on top of the ball. And the ball, it almost feels like they're right on top of you. And they're handing the ball to the catcher while you're trying to hit it. They're so big, and Roush added to that 6'10" frame. He comes right over the top, hides the ball nicely, comes right over the top, and the ball's right on top of it.
Kelly Shopik pulls it into left field. Just the 3rd hit for Tampa Bay tonight. Roush is always looking in at Molina after a pitch to ask him if he got it where he wanted it. Pitchers fall off the mound and they don't really zero in on where that ball is in the strike zone, so he'll ask his catcher from time to time about whether or not he left it out over the plate. Sean Rodriguez walked and struck out in 2 trips. Kelly Shopik at first base is one of the few Rays that you don't have to think about with the stolen base. He didn't have an attempt a year ago, but he had a knee problem, had knee surgery early in April. A ball on the strike to the Rays' second baseman.
Sean Rodriguez is hunting to try to be an everyday player. He's got great tools. Fits in with this Tampa Bay team with his ability to play different positions. He's got a very strong bat. He is looking for an everyday position. Right now, he's going to be splitting time at second base and the other positions because he has trouble with the right-handed pitching. for his career, just a .226 batting average versus right-handed pitching.
Takes the pitch upstairs, 2-1. Rodriguez played in 118 games with Tampa Bay a year ago, 343 at-bats, and he looks like the kind of guy, because of where he hits the ball to the gap in right center, that he would handle right-handers a little more effectively.
He did in the minor leagues.
Drills this ball to left field. Eric Payne's on the track at the wall, makes the catch, and John Roush gets out of it. Sean Rodriguez hit one off the end of the bat. John Roush has a clean inning. We are tied at 3-3 after 6. Pat Tabler's going to be our fantasy guru all season long, and before you get into your fantasy pool, make sure you check in with Pat. Pat, tell us about your American League sleepers this season.
These are some sleepers that I think are ready to take it to the next level. Let's start with Gio Gonzalez, just 25 years old. Gonzalez pitched 200 innings last year for the first time in his career. His ERA has gone down every year the last 3 seasons. His Ks have gone up every year the last 3 years. He won 15 games. Pitching in Oakland in that ballpark, that's a bonus for him. Carlos Santana, look at that on-base percentage of .401, just 150 at-bats last year, 19 extra base hits. He's ready to take his game to the next level as one of those fantasy catchers who can give you a lot of offense. And Jacoby Ellsbury, now he was hurt last year and he only got into 18 games. They've moved him back to center field where he belongs, and at the top of that lineup, hitting in front of Pedroia and Crawford and Euclid and the rest of them. Remember, he had 70 stolen bases in 2009, a .300 batting average. Hurt last year. I think he's going to score about 120 runs this year.
That's a pretty good call, and certainly fantasy baseball has become very big, and you can check in all season long with our guru, Pat Tabler. He'll break it down for you. Jake McGee, the left-hander, is having a good spring. Big power arm. And eventually he might develop into a starting pitcher down the road for these guys.
Did that in the minor leagues. Did McGee. There was also some talk that he might pitch at the back end of the bullpen as he breaks into the big leagues. But there's no question he's got a big league arm.
Fly ball to left field. Johnny Damon trots back and now rights himself and makes the catch. Jose Molina is retired. J.P. Arencibia trying to get a stroke together. They give him an opportunity to DH here tonight. He'll be the opening day catcher when Ricky Romero takes the mound on Friday night. The plan as it stands is for Arencibia to catch 3 pitchers in the 5-man rotation and for Molina to catch 2. Day game after night game on Saturday. Molina will more than likely be behind the plate to catch Kyle Drabek in his season debut.
Brandon Morrow, they'll probably keep Morrow and Molina together this year. It worked so well last year. Arencibia focused very much on his
catching all spring long. Had a big year with the bat last year. 32 home runs, the PCL Pacific Coast League most valuable player. Didn't get an awful lot of opportunities, but boy, does he remember his debut against Tampa Bay.
We all do. First pitch he sees in the big leagues, first at bat. Jimmy John, home run. Homered again later. Also throwing a double there. Then for a young player, you get a few at bats here, a start there, and it's just difficult to get into any kind of rhythm. We certainly saw that in the month of September. He'll get an opportunity this season, and right now his timing's just off. You can tell just a little bit at the plate.
Off the end of the bat, Dan Johnson will take it himself and beats Aaron Sebia to the bag. 2 outs for McGee.
That's the great thing about spring training. None of these numbers count. So you could just wipe the slate clean after this one.
Everybody goes back to 0.
Yeah.
48 hours, 55 minutes and counting till the opener on Friday night. Big night planned at Rogers Center, including the introduction of the class of 2011 Baseball Hall of Fame. Pat Gillick, Bert Blyleven, and Roberto Alomar.
How great is that going to be?
That's awesome. Huh? What a great way to open the season. Alomar going into the going into the Hall of Fame as the first Blue Jay player, and Gillick going in as an executive, having built 3 World Series championship ball clubs. Jose Bautista's great home run season will also be highlighted opening night.
There's just so much to talk about when a season starts. You just don't know what's going to happen. You can look to Derek Jeter's probably going to get to 3,000 hits this year. There's going to be somebody step up and have big season, probably like a Jose Bautista. That's the great thing about baseball. You just never know what's going to happen.
Well, there's so many options, obviously. So many guys step up. When you look at the San Francisco Giants, some of the most important players weren't even with the club when they broke camp. They used 42 different players last year. McGee comes up with a big fastball and strikes out Aaron Sebia. Jake McGee has a 1-2-3 7th inning. We are tied in St. Petersburg. Raj had a good inning in the 6th. Mark Zepchinski, the newest reliever on this ball club. He's been converted from a starter to a reliever for the time being. And Pat, so far, how do you like the transition, what you've seen from Zepchinski?
You know, I like Zepchinski as that left-handed specialist, or however they want to use him as the season progresses. I think he can be very good against left-handed hitters because of the way his breaking ball comes out of his hand. Will probably take over at some point for the role the role that Scott Downs played last year. Left on left, late in the ball game. Zebchinski, I think, has really taken off since they moved him to the bullpen a week or so ago.
Wow, this is a perfect example of the type of innings that he will be asked to handle. Dan Johnson, left-handed hitter, leading things off. Johnson, a power hitter. And that's the pitch that makes him so effective. That good breaking ball. He throws it right at the hip of those left-handed hitters, and it's a tough pitch to swing at.
And when he faces those left-handed hitters, he can't be afraid to keep throwing them one right after another. Rick Honeycutt comes to mind when I think of Mark Zebchinski, a lefty specialist that Tony La Russa used when he was in Oakland, where he kept bringing that breaking ball. And then as the lefty starts looking for it, he'll snap that fastball by you.
Fastball inside as Zebchinski's working to a new catcher, Ryan Buddy. Buddy from the Angels organization came over here with the Blue Jays this spring and has been pretty good behind the plate. Breaking ball missed inside. Zebchinski was in the competition for the starting spot early in the spring. He and Jesse Litch were on the same day. They each alternated between starts and backing the other up. Breaking ball, strike three, no contest. Took Zebchinski a few more pitches than he would like, but he strikes out the first batter he faces here in the seventh.
Pitch before it, he got around the breaking ball and he hung it. That time he stayed on top of it and freezes him. Not afraid to throw the breaking ball 3-2 to the lefty. Now that's one thing. The first time we saw Mark Zebchinski make his first big league start right here was he's not afraid to throw that breaking ball when he's behind in the count.
Blue Jays have racked up 10 strikeouts here tonight against Tampa Bay.
And a ton of them taking, looking. Shows you the kind of stuff that they bring to the table.
Zebchinski ahead of the switch hitting Elliott Johnson. Breaking ball just missed the outside corner. When you talk to John Farrell and Bruce Walton in their assessment of Mark Zebchinski, they call him a weapon. Somebody that can neutralize the tough hitters in the American League East. Tough left-handed hitters that you have to get out in tough situations, like a J.D. Drew, like a David Ortiz. Opening series, Joe Mauer, Justin Morneau.
Carl Crawford for Boston. They got a lot of switch hitters for the Yankees, but Brett Gardner comes to mind.
Just off the glove of a diving Jonathan Diaz into center. Diaz got a pretty good jump and a pretty good read, but he just tipped off his glove for a base hit.
Good positioning, 2 strikes. He's going to go back through the middle, and you're right, gets a good jump, but he just can't get it as he lunges for it. Just ticks the glove into center field. Just the 4th hit for Tampa this afternoon.
So now Reed Brignac, the number 9 hitter, in the DH role tonight. The composition of the bullpen, as it sits right now, Roush will more than likely be the closer. Then you have Frazier and Camp setting up. Carlos Villanueva, Casey Jansen have both thrown the ball very well all spring long. There goes the runner. He shut it down. Buddy's throw is into center field. Elliott Johnson now has gone all the way back to first and couldn't advance. I don't know if Johnson was bluffing, but I think he just felt like he had a bad jump and shut it down.
He leads baseball in stolen bases this spring with 11. I think he had you're right, he had the green light, but did not feel like he got a good jump, shut it down, and with the left-handed batter at the dish, blocked Buddy.
Zebchinski's going to check on Johnson.
More of a low key and low market team, you know.
Percy and Zebchinski appear to be the lefties in the bullpen as they start the season. Both Dotel and Frank Francisco, Octavio Dotel and Francisco, will start the season on the disabled list. Francisco and Brandon Morrow will fly with the team tonight to Toronto. They will throw a side session tomorrow, get on the mound, then they will evaluate where they are after that and determine the next step.
As it is right now, they're scheduled not to miss too much time. Morrow just one start, as they will backdate both of them to, I believe, March 22nd.
Yeah, and
on the DL.
It should be just a matter of time. Morrow, no signs of any problems yesterday when he threw the ball. Threw second time yesterday. So he took the day off, a little long toss today, and then tomorrow have a side session. That ball was bunted right off the neck of Brignac. That was self-defense. He squared around and the ball came up and in.
Watch this thing ride in on him. Here's that deception, I think, that Mark Zebchinski has left on left. Left-handed pitcher on a left-handed batter. He didn't even pick it up. And if it doesn't hit the bat, that knocks him in the shoulder.
Right after this game, stay tuned for a 1-hour special, the 2011 MLB season preview show, hosted by Jamie Campbell, myself, Alan Ashby, Greg Zaun. We're involved in the panel discussion about the upcoming season, not only for the Blue Jays, but around baseball. Who might be some Cy Young candidates, MVP possibilities? There's a bunt up the first base side. Zebchinski bare hands and throws it high. Zebchinski, Mark, instead of taking a step and a little bit more time, just grabbed it, threw it all in one motion, made a bad throw.
You know, Buck, I think what threw him off is he grabbed it with his bare hand, and that threw his timing off. You are taught, and this is one of the drills that they do from the first day of spring training, gather under the ball, stay over it, get your glove down, but he goes down and grabs it with the bare hand and tries to spin around. And by that time, the ball takes off on him. Brignac not taking anything for granted, hustling all the way, and that ball is just off the bag. And Cooper tries to get back, but it's a good call. Brignac is safe at first.
Brignac runs well. So the number 9 hitter comes up with a 1-out sacrifice and reaches base on a high throw. B.J. Upton now with a chance to put the Rays out in front. That's not unusual. Joe Madden will do this often. Bunting with 1 out, trying to turn the lineup over and get the top of the order at the plate.
I think he saw how tough that Zebchinski can be against lefties and said, you know what, I'll take my chances with Upton with 2 outs and a runner at second base. Tough to get a steal attempt. Johnson was at first base against a left-handed pitcher. They elected to try and sacrifice him, and so far it's worked out for him.
On the corner, 0-2. Zebchinski has thrown a little bit harder with his fastball since he's moved into this 1-inning role. He knows that he doesn't have to pace himself, but his fastball with good movement has been around 92 miles an hour.
What a weapon. Isn't that what they called him? The weapon?
The weapon. He needs a ground ball right here. There go the base runners. Taken down and in. A double steal. You mentioned Jacoby Ellsbury in Boston with his 70 steals a couple of years ago. This team, the Tampa Bay Rays, led the American League in stolen bases last year.
And now they've got to put a little bit more pressure on the defense. They've got to come in. It's the 7th inning. The infield has got to come in, respecting that speed. Zebchinski just gave one look to Johnson, and he steals third base easily.
Base hit. 1 run comes in. Here comes the base runner around third. He'll score. Brignac scores. And B.J. Upton delivers a 2-run single to center.
When you have that kind of speed, it puts a lot of pressure on the defense. The infield comes in, And you just have to hit a soft line drive into center field and 2 quick runs for Tampa. A hit, an error, a couple of stolen bases, and then a soft single to center, and it breaks the tie.
Johnny Damon singles into right field. B.J. Upton makes the turn. Lowen's got a strong arm, but the ball is cut off. First and third, 1 out.
That's called outrunning the baseball right there, what we saw from B.J. Upton. Great jump over at first base, and he knows that Lowen can throw in right field, but he didn't hesitate at all. We saw, he knew that there was going to be a play at third base, and he came around that bag quickly, daring Lowen to try and throw him out. No hesitation, and he gets to the ball quickly and makes a good throw. No chance as the ball is cut off by Diaz. Watch him on the bases. He's got great speed, and he knows those long galloping strides and makes it easily.
Johnny Damon has ended Mark Zepchinski's night. When we come back, Rays are threatening with 1 out. Chinsky as Johnny Damon with the single after B.J. Upton drove in 2 with his single to center. Left-handed veteran Johnny Damon delivers a big base hit. His night has come to an end. Evan Crawford, a 8th-round draft pick of the Blue Jays back in 2008 out of Auburn University, will try to get out of this situation.
Blue Jays brought over a host of young players from their minor league camp to finish out this game. Our first chance to see Evan Crawford, who spent last year in A-ball.
This pitcher in A-ball.
Evan Longoria will try to keep things going for Tampa Bay here. Hit a home run off of Jojo Reyes in the first. A deep shot to left center. Evan Crawford in his 4th professional season. He gets ahead of Evan Longoria.
Got to be a thrill for these young guys. We saw them before the game. A bunch of the young kids that they brought over from Dunedin for this game. They were all on the top step of the dugout when we saw them today, before anybody else got out there. And his first shot at a big leaguer is Evan Longoria. Welcome to the big leagues.
And he strikes him out. Reaches back for a little extra with the fastball. There's a great memory for a young guy.
You're on a big league ballpark facing a big league hitter in a tough situation, and you blow him away with a fastball. What'd that take? 3 pitches? Away.
Sam Poole, the backup outfielder has come on to pinch run for Johnny Damon at first. He was thinking about running, but didn't get a very good jump and had the hold of his ground. Cole is one of the many new players here with the Rays this season, coming from the Chicago Cubs organization. Came to Tampa Bay in a January trade that included Matt Garza going to the Cubs. Good breaking ball, an off-speed pitch. Ball on the strike to Ben Zobrist. Two down here in the 7th inning. Tampa Bay is taking a 2-run lead. There goes the base runner. Zobrist pulls it foul. Everybody's running in a Rays uniform tonight. They're coming off the bench running.
Coming off the bench and taking off. Put some pressure on him. It certainly has led to a couple of runs this inning. I think the Blue Jays, when they scored their 3 runs in the 3rd inning, starting the base runner, led to that inning. Davis taking off on a pitch kept that inning going, and Blue Jays scored 3 runs.
Blue Jays going through their 1st and 3rd defense as Ryan Buddy, the catcher, comes out and signals the infield defense. A ball and 2 strikes to Zobrist. There goes the runner from first. It's fouled straight back. Very difficult to do anything in this situation because the 3rd baseman, Brett Lawrie, is deep behind the bag. You can't keep B.J. Upton very close to 3rd. Once already this spring, we've seen Upton steal home against the Blue Jays.
It's hard because if he throws over to first base with nothing on it, B.J. Upton can walk home. Look at that lead at 3rd.
There goes Fold again. Strike 3 called. Evan Crawford comes out of the bullpen and strikes out the 2 batters he faced. What a great chance for a young pitcher. And we're going to introduce you to a new Blue Jays player, Jason Nix. He's not with the club yet. He'll join the team tomorrow in Toronto. But Pat, tell us about Jason Nix.
Picked up his bat, and that's one thing that he has. He can hit, and he can hit for power. He can play multiple positions, shortstop, second base, third base. He can also play both corner outfields if you need it. Just 28 years old from Dallas, Texas. He's got some pop in his bat. 642 career at bats in the big leagues. He's hit 26 home runs. I think it's a guy that John Farrell will be able to use in certain situations. And we've talked about that already today, about having guys who can play multiple positions. Here's another one in Jason Nix.
Well, Corey Patterson was hit in the head by Daniel Bard last week when they played the Boston Red Sox. He's been placed on a disabled list, and before they can activate Corey Patterson, he's got to play some games. All indications are that there's nothing physically wrong and there's no injury, but just the fact he got hit in the head, he needs to get back in, step in the box, and ride the horse again.
Have they determined if it's that new 7-day DL with Corey Patterson? That's a new rule that they just put in yesterday.
Right, just to address the specific injury of a concussion. I think Corey Patterson was placed on the 15-day disabled list. And the new 7-day disabled list, which the Players Association and Major League Baseball agreed to, will begin opening day tomorrow. And that's significant because most minor concussions, and we'll emphasize minor, the symptoms subside between 5 and 7 days. So if you can disable a player, not penalize the team's 25-man roster, and fill in with that 7-day disabled list, then you might not use a guy that you're not really sure about the significance of the injury, but I think it's a great move and a step in the right direction.
Yeah, and there's just so much they don't know about with head injuries. You're right, it's a step in the right direction, and you can bring in a player then for that week if he has to be on the disabled list.
Andy Sonnenstein is the new pitcher for Tampa Bay here in the 8th inning. Jonathan Diaz takes a leadoff walk, and Adam Lowen takes a strike. Lowen struck out in his first at bat back in the 5th inning. Cut on and missed. Lowen trying to make it back to the big leagues as a position player. He has played some first base, went to winter ball this past offseason and played first base. Pops this one into shallow center field. 1 out. Andy Sonnenstein, a former starter, now working out of the bullpen, is a luxury that a lot of managers would love to have. A reliever that can go multiple innings, giving his starter background.
That's one of the strengths of this team, is the starting rotation. They did not miss too many innings last year, the Rays, but if they got knocked down early in the game, there's Andy Sonnenstein, who won 13 games for him a few years ago.
There's a base hit down the right field line, and Diaz is going first to third. David Cooper continues to swing a red-hot bat. He's 2 for 2 tonight.
Dwayne Murphy told us he's one of the guys who has really opened up his eyes. The ability to hit every pitch from foul line to foul line. Last time up, he pulls a fastball into right field. This time, just excuse me, off the end of the bat down the left field line. He'll be credited with his second hit. It's a very compact, easy swing from Cooper. Not a lot of wasted motion in that swing.
First and third, 1 out for John McDonald. This one's popped up on the infield. 2 down. McDonald would like another hack at that ball right there. Ball up in the zone. David Cooper, former #1 pick of the Blue Jays, has really made an impression this spring. A little more power than we've seen in the past. He had a home run the other day against New York. Against Freddie Garcia at George M. Steinbrenner Field in Tampa. Eric Thames, second at bat. Takes a fastball for a strike.
Here's some power at the plate. Thames with 27 home runs last year in Double-A.
Breaking ball on the corner. 0-2. Thames coming into this game batting .224 for the spring, but he had 11 RBI. Fouls it off. Eric Thames had 2 home runs during the spring, and you can see the team leaders in RBI. He was right there with Jose Bautista.
Yeah, and early on he was getting a lot of at-bats with those home runs. Second behind Jose Bautista in RBIs.
When you think about the possibility of Thames, Lowen, and Cooper all starting out at AAA Las Vegas, Brett Laurie also bodes well for their chances in the PCL.
Yeah, they're going to put some runs on the board in that ballpark, playing in that league.
Fouled back. David Cooper was on the move, 0-2. Just to create some movement on the infield, might open up a hole with 2 strikes and give Thames an opportunity to get a base hit.
He has the ability, with those power numbers that we just showed you, to score that runner from first base. Gap power. And if you make a mistake, you can put it in the seats.
Blue Jays trail 5-3. And on and miss. Sonnenstein strikes him out. The Blue Jays strand a pair of runners as Sonnenstein strikes out Eric Thames. We played 7.5 here in Tampa Bay. Friends, just one more day before opening day. That'll be Friday night, opening weekend. Honda opening night is sold out, but Saturday is the Junior Jays, the first of several Junior Jays during that course of Saturdays. Kids 14 and under receive half-price tickets in the 200 and 500 level of the outfield seats. On Sunday, Jose Bautista Bobblehead Day. The first 10,000 fans receive a Jose Bautista Bobblehead Day. Bautista is known from coast to coast. And we will have a big weekend against the Minnesota Twins, and it'll be all capped off by Jose Bautista Bobblehead Day on Sunday afternoon at Rogers Center. Evan Crawford misses with the first pitch to Kelly Shopping. Crawford came in relief with 1 out in the 7th and struck out Evan Longoria and Ben Zobrist.
That's one thing that the Blue Jay pitchers have done this afternoon.
High pop up into right field. Adam Lowen drifting over to his left makes the catch.
12 punch-outs from the pitching staff. Haven't given up too many hits either.
Evan Crawford making his spring debut with the Blue Jays, and day like today, you bring enough backup pitchers in case you have an extra inning game or somebody has a shorter than anticipated outing. Sean Rodriguez has had an interesting night. He walked and stole a base in the second, struck out in the fourth, and lined to left in the sixth. Ooh, good breaking ball. That's a tough breaking ball for a right-handed hitter. It comes straight out of Crawford's hand and then disappears under your hands.
And I'm guessing that Sean Rodriguez knows nothing about Evan Crawford. I'm guessing the way he swung at that breaking ball. Guessing fastball, and he threw him the hook.
Major league hitters are so into routines, as we heard from Dwayne Murphy, the hitting coach, during our interview earlier in the game. Routine of knowing who you're facing is part of it.
How the breaking ball comes out of his hand, when he's going to throw that breaking ball. 3-2, this will tell you a lot.
That's Chad Mottola standing next to Murphy, and Mottola will be the AAA hitting coach. There's a drive to left field, but that'll hang up for Eric Thames. 2 outs here in the 8th. So guys like Eric Thames and David Cooper, Adam Malone, they'll all be under the guidance of Chad Mottola at AAA. So Murphy and Mottola talk an awful lot about key spots, trigger points in the different hitters' approaches.
Brett Lawrie, you know, he's got a little bit of a hitch in his swing where the barrel of the bat comes straight up and down before he lets go of the bat on the swing, and I know that's a timing issue that he has. That's something that the hitting coaches will talk about, and if they want to change that, everybody's on the same page, so when he does come up here, they know what they've been working on down in the minor leagues.
Why can that work in the minor leagues and cause you problems in the big leagues?
Yeah, well, you've got too many good pitchers up here who can blow the cheese by you. And not just the starters anymore. You got those middle relievers who come in and throw 95.
This should be an easy play for Thames. And how about Evan Crawford? He's retired all 5 Rays he's faced here tonight and struck out Evan Longoria just for good measure. The 2011 season begins tomorrow on Sportsnet, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Pacific Time, opening day. The Detroit Tigers will take on the New York Yankees, and what a pitching matchup. CC Sabathia will go up against Justin Verlander. Sabathia 21-7 a year ago. Verlander 18-9 as the Tigers and Yankees start things off. Verlander had some spring, boy. You talk to scouts around baseball, they were saying Bob Gibson, Tom Seaver, same sentence with Justin Verlander.
Great combination, fastball, breaking ball with Verlander. How about the whole Detroit Tigers staff? The way they can throw.
Max Scherzer, Rick Porcello, Phil Cope, the converted reliever, now in the starting rotation.
And it doesn't stop there. They come bring some heat coming out of that bullpen.
Joaquin Benoit, who was so good for Tampa Bay a year ago, will set up in that bullpen. Jose Valverde, the animated closer with a big arm. The Tigers, on the hopes of a consistent Miguel Cabrera and newcomer Victor Martinez, hope to contend in the Central. Brett Flory line to second base, his first time up. This time he's going to hit one in the gap. BJ Upton over trying to cut it off. Flory makes a big turn and throws on the brakes. Well, we're wrapping up the Grapefruit League, the American League East. This is how the teams finished up in the spring. Blue Jays atop the East. Baltimore's had a good spring. Tampa Bay got off to a terrible start and started to play well at the end. How do you break down records in spring training?
I don't. I really don't care. It looks nice. Who won the World Series last year?
San Francisco.
San Francisco. What was their record in the spring? No one knows. No. You know, but there's so many things that teams are trying to accomplish. They had the best record in the Cactus League, by the way, last year. San Francisco. I looked it up just for knowledge. But so many other teams are getting their teams ready differently. The Boston Red Sox are a veteran team. Their guys play a couple of at-bats, a couple of innings. Then they bring in their young kids. They're totally different than the way the Jays are going to put their team together.
I think John Farrell addressed it not long ago when he said his team gets a boost in energy when he puts in the kids. Anthony Goes, Eric Thames, Brett Laurie. There's a long drive, but that one's going to hook foul off the bat of Ryan Butter.
We saw that this week when the Blue Jays went down to Fort Myers to face Josh Beckett.
Adam Lowen had a big game down there, a home run and a double. Anthony Goes went down there and stole some bases. They have track meet down there.
Everybody wanted a piece of that big league pitching.
And that front door breaking ball that's become so popular. Sonnenstein starts that breaking ball inside and catches the inside corner.
You'll see a lot of breaking balls from Andy Sonnenstein. That's his bread and butter. Mix it. He'll throw it at different speeds and different counts. And try and pop a fastball by you, but he is basically sinker slider.
On the ground, this should be two. Rodriguez to short for one. To first, double play. Sean Rodriguez gave Elliott Johnson a good feed, and it was academic after that.
First thing you want to do as a fielder on a double play situation, catch the ball. He gets himself in great position to catch this ball. It's right at him. And then once you do that, give him a good feed. And it's firm, and it's to the outside part of the bag. And from there, the shortstop does the rest.
J.P. Arancibia takes a strike. Arancibia is 0 for 3 tonight. Arancibia will be anxious to get going in the regular season, to get a fresh start at the plate especially.
There's something where you look up on the scoreboard and you see your average, and then on Friday it'll go back to
0.
Start all over. Time to build on that.
Another liner, but right at Sean Rodriguez. A quick inning here in the ninth, and that's it. Andy Sonnenstein has a couple of good innings as the Rays beat the Blue Jays 5-3.
Well,
Tampa Bay took advantage of their speed here tonight.
Yeah, they took advantage, a couple of double steals, and then the big hit by Upton to drive in the tie-breaking runs. But I think this is what we'll see from the Rays this year. They don't have the power with Crawford and Pena gone. They're going to have to mix and match, and I think their bullpen is going to be a little bit better.
They've got the great starting pitching, but that'll do it from Florida and spring training. Next time we see you will be Friday night on the opener. Stay tuned for Connected and top of the hour, the 2011 preview show.